I'm Andrew Kraft. I want to bring in still more of these analysts and experts and our friends, including former Biden campaign advisor, that of course is Rhett Buttle. He joins me. Rhett, good to see you here. Happy night two of the DNC. You know, so much was made last night, Rhett, about the timing of the program, of the ceremony, and how it did drag on past prime time. President Biden didn't wrap up his speech until almost 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. And I wanted to get your thoughts here. For such a momentous night as this was for President Biden, now that he is off the ticket and he only has, 5 or 6 months left in the Oval Office here, did President Biden get his due last night, or was he shortchanged by the long, drawn-out duration of the ceremony last night? What are people saying there in Chicago?
Awesome. Well, first of all, always good to see you, Andrew. And two, yes, we're headed into day two with excitement, energy, momentum. Look, I was in the convention hall last night. I was standing on the floor. There was just so much energy. So everyone is really excited, I think, about the Harris-Walz ticket and just, the future that we're seeing before us. Look, part of the reason the conversation was so delayed is because there was so much celebration happening, right? And so, people were clapping and, very, very excited. And so the speakers were really ended up taking more time than I think allowed. And that celebration continued. I was in that venue. People stayed to the bitter end. I'm continuing to receive text messages from people who said, look, I stayed up late to hear from President Biden. And I think President Biden did a few things. One is he talked about, his historic record, building us back from COVID and really creating an economy and building interlasting international alliances that are going to be important for the future. And then he really talked about how Kamala Harris has been a partner to him in doing all of that important work and really made the case for her that she's ready and she's fit to be for office. And obviously that was always the case when he selected her. But now having spent 4 years by his side doing this work, both on the international stage as well as here at home, really made the case that Kamala Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, are ready to assume the presidency.
Rhett, I wanted to ask you as well. There was like 4.5 minutes of applause from the time Biden came out to the time he actually, started delivering his remarks. He said this, quote, "I love the job, but I love my country more." He says, "I love my country more." He said, and all this talk about how I'm angry at all those people who said I should step down, it's not true. So, what kind of President Biden was on the stage last night? Did he seem at peace with this decision? There have been a lot of reports that he was really angry about this decision, that he was forced into this decision here. But was President Biden on the stage there in Chicago at peace with the decision finally? I mean, tears in his eyes. He was introduced by his daughter, Ashley Biden. So many tears among so many of the delegates and his family members waiting and watching and listening here. It was emotional.
Yeah, listen, you saw Joe Biden in best form last night. It's just who he is. And obviously I had the pleasure of, serving, the Biden campaign and working, with the president and the team when we were running for election. And you saw the best of him last night. He's always honest. He's always candid, and I think, in the past people say he's too honest and he's too candid, but he really put his heart out there last night. He talked about how he loves his country more. There was such an important theme in his speech last night, which was really around democracy. And this whole idea about where we were 4 years ago and how America had kind of, people were starting to question our role of leadership in the world. And the work that he has done over the last 4 years with Kamala Harris by his side to really bring America back to the front of the leadership stage. It's so important. And it's such a track record of Joe Biden and his administration. It was really powerful to watch Ashley Biden introduce him last night, to just talk about the sort of man he is, to hear Joe Biden, who's been a wonderful First Lady of the United States, to really characterize Joe Biden and who he is. And look, this is a party who knows Joe Biden. They love Joe Biden. And folks are just eternally grateful, I think, for someone who, probably could have wrote off much sooner, but felt a lot of conviction 4 years ago that he needed to defeat Donald Trump to really restore the soul of this nation, as he would say. And so Joe Biden has really put us on a path, and I think he's put a nice glideway in path and made a strong endorsement and a strong case, quite frankly, to the American people for a Kamala Harris presidency.
Yeah, what other speeches struck out to you last night? You were in the room. What really got the crowd going? We were showing them from start to finish. It seemed like Hillary Clinton and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got a lot of very strong applause lines here, especially talking about the role women have played in the run-up to last night and tonight here within the Democratic Party, that was a theme too. May not have been as explicit, but it was there.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that was impressive about 2020 in the campaign was the Democratic Party was able to build a broad constituency, right? And so you had everything from, working class voters to, people in African American and Latino community all coming together saying, this is the sort of direction we want to take our country. We want to restore the sort of the country. And you saw that reflected in the speakers last night. As you said, we had Alexandria Cortez, who's from the more progressive, side of the party, really talk about, the things that are important to her. But we also heard from, folks like Hillary Clinton. And there's just so much respect, I think, for someone like Hillary Clinton, the party. In addition to working on the Biden campaign, I also had the pleasure of serving as the director of business engagement on the Hillary Clinton campaign. These are people who have committed their lives to public service. They've been focused on really sort of moving this country forward. And so, it was nice to have that narrative last night. And I think a real amazing moment for Hillary Clinton, who just broke so many glass ceilings, being our first woman nominee and coming so close in 2016 to becoming president of the United States, for her to be there in that moment and really talk about what this means for women, especially when we're at such a critical moment in our country where we're talking about issues around reproductive freedom and the choices that we'll make. And really, that's what's at stake in this election, right? It's a conversation about freedom. We have a decision to make about whether we want to go backwards to a failed economy and being locked up, in our homes during COVID, or do we want to look forward and build on the progress and choose Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to sort of continue to build on the progress that we've made over 4 years?
Speaking of AOC, Rhett, we also know Senator Bernie Sanders is going to have a speaking slot tonight as well. I was there in 2016 in Philadelphia. The Bernie Sanders wing, the squad, so to speak, well, it wasn't the squad back then, but it was nascent and it was coming. They weren't very welcome at the Democratic National Convention. How much has the party changed since then? And if it has, is that indicative of some type of leftward shift within the party that AOC spoke last night to rapturous applause? Bernie Sanders speaking tonight as well. Where has the party gone on that question, their progressive flank?
Look, I think this is a Big Ten party. I mean, all parties should try to be inclusive and, have a wide variety of perspectives. And I think you see that replicated. The American people come from every walk of life. They have all sorts of viewpoints, all sorts of faiths and backgrounds and different income levels. And all of that needs to be represented if you are going to build, A, party that's reflective of America, and B, quite frankly, a winning coalition to win the White House. And so, the progressive ideals that exist within the Democratic Party, which are one piece of the party. We will hear from those folks. There will be energy. Some of the delegates will come from that side of the party, right? And they'll be excited to hear from those people. You're also going to hear from people who come from maybe more, center Democratic ideology, right? Okay. And so, the party made a ton of inroads with business lately, for example. And so I think you're really seeing broad swaths of the Democratic constituency, everything from the progressive left all the way to reaching over to Republicans for Harris, which is gaining tons of momentum.
Right. Rhett, just lastly, we know the keynote speakers of the night are Barack and Michelle Obama. What is their relationship like with Vice President Harris? We know Obama was one of these lone holdouts, for whatever reason, to throw his backing behind Harris when she became the nominee in the days after Biden withdrew. Can you give us a sense? Is their relationship close, distant, ambiguous here? What do you think they're going to say tonight?
Well, look, I had the pleasure of serving in the Obama administration, and, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are well respected in the Democratic Party, as well as with many of the constituencies we've been talking about tonight. But I think the president takes his position as former president, former head of the party very seriously. And so, my suspicion is that, he was holding out until he thought the moment was right, and he wanted to let sort of the chips fall in place. I know that they've had a long relationship with Kamala Harris since she was the Attorney General of California, and think very highly of her. And tonight, I think we're going to see them make a full-throated case for why Kamala Harris is the best person to assume the presidency after Joe Biden and continue to build off the economic progress that we've made over the last 4 years.
All right, Rhett Buttle, we're going to have to leave it at that. Can't thank you enough for your insight into all of these party dynamics. It's shaping up to be quite the historic night. Thanks, Rhett.
Always great to see you, Andrew.